Can we please take our seats for the business meeting, please? I want to welcome you at our business meeting for this conference and for the next year, and I declare it to be a properly constituted meeting with members of ACLARS present, and that all decisions that we take here will be binding on ACLARS at least for the next year. Now, we have different points on our agenda. The approval of our financial report, the set level of dues for this year, just take notice of the new steering committee, and then discuss and approve our next ACLARS meeting, the theme and the venue, and then regional chapters and affiliation. Those are the few points that we have on our agenda. It needn't take us long to go through this agenda. And I now ask for our secretary, Sean Boshoff, to please put our financial report before us. Yes,
right, before we go to the financial report, it was mentioned earlier about the website, and that's one of the items that the centre has helped us with, but that the steering committee has also put together. If you've all jotted down the website details, and we really think that this is going to be a wonderful hub for ACLARS, and for us putting the information that comes out of these conferences together, the publication of papers, and also a communication point to keep this discussion going throughout Africa, but also throughout the world. If you have a look, it's a very dynamic website. We've got the publications from each conference that go up. We've got previous conferences, so reports that come out of those conferences. We've got upcoming conference information that you can follow and track continually. We've got headlines, so those Cole was mentioning about some of the headlines that the international chapter puts out, and so we'll start getting those out of this website as well. We encourage all of you to go in, and there's a little space right up here where you sign in, create an account and sign in, and you'll get the newsletter. Is that right, Robert? You'll receive the newsletter automatically, and it will give you access to all the information that you need for the upcoming conference in 2016. We're going to be posting a whole bunch of fun things on it. Here's the last two conferences, the first one in West Africa, and then the last one in 2014 in South Africa in Stellenbosch, with all of the participants. And I think if you look at the first group that went and the second group, and you look at how many are at this conference, I think ACLARS is really starting to gain momentum, and it's starting to, the topic of religious freedom and how it enshrines with legal freedoms and legal rights is really a topic that is at the forefront of discussion at the moment. And with all of the great support that we have from the various sponsors and the centre especially, we are grateful for that opportunity that we as a steering committee have to play a part in this. So I'll leave that up there. You can come and have a look at it afterwards if you want. Otherwise, just go onto the website yourself. It's very user-friendly, and it's got a lot of information on there. In terms of the financial report, it's really simple. For the year 2014, ending 31st of December of that year, the financial status of ACLARS was 0 in and 0 out. So
do you approve of that? So please pay your dues as soon as possible.
I left 5 cents on the table last year. Why is it?
We didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, so in terms of this year, obviously we've collected some dues this morning as you kindly put those forward. For those of you who were not able to pay in cash, we will be sending out a little invoice to yourself, and then you can either have your, I know that some of the deans have said that they will pay for their participants, and we ask that you just help us facilitate this. It's not an awful lot of money that is being generated for ACLARS, and we rely heavily on the sponsors. that come with the organisation of these conferences. But the little bit of money that we do get helps with the publication of the books, and then also a little bit of travel and reimbursement that has to happen in coming to some of these conferences. We will produce a set of financials for the following year, which will have a little bit in and a lot out as well. And so we were grateful for that. Chair, if I can, if we can approve the financial report for the year 2014.
I put it to you. Thank you.
Okay. Then just Professor Crutzen has asked that I just deal with the setting of dues. Steering committee took the decision to set two standards of, or two levels of dues, annual fees if you'd like to call it. For a standard member rate, that's the majority of us, it's a $50 annual amount, which we felt was not too heavy, but it includes the issuance of the annual journal, ACLARS journal that you'll receive with that, and then some of the balance of that money will then be used to do some of the administrative work that has to take place. And then for anybody that's involved as a student, and we've defined that student as anybody that is currently busy with a bachelor's degree or an undergraduate degree or a postgraduate degree, is at $25, but that excludes, I think we said PhD degrees, right? Full-time students. Full-time students.
Okay, so do you approve of the dues as is proposed or was proposed by Sean? Thank you. Can I just say at this point that there are more copies of the book available in Stellenbosch. We will put some information on the website of where you can order it and where it can be seen on the platform on the internet, so that if you want to order more copies you can do it, and that will then be at the cost of $35 per book, plus postage with that.
We did take note that there were, I think, 3 or 4 of you that did not receive books today. We've made a note of that, and we will get those to you within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Is that right, Bob?
Yeah, that's right. And we count on you to give those second copies to your libraries, please. That is a very, very important way of distributing knowledge about law and religion in Africa. We come to the third point on our agenda, the approval of new committee chairs and members. Well, actually, that is only taking note of who the committee chairs and members are, because we elected them last year for a period of 5 years. The president and the vice president for 4 years, but the other members, steering committees for 5 years. And I will now ask Sean just to read those names so that you know who the people are that is at the head of this association.
Okay, in terms of the steering committee, we have 3 committees under the current ACLARS structure. The steering committee consists of Peter Crutzen from South Africa, Kofi Koshiga from Ghana, Johan van der Pfeiffer from the US, Jean-Baptiste from Benin, Rosalind Hackett from the US, Mark Hill from the UK, Nokozula Mdende from South Africa, Isaac Oliende from Nigeria, myself from South Africa, Cole Durham from the US, Francois Fenter from South Africa, Nico Horn from Namibia, Mary Ann Plaikes from South Africa, and then Sulungwe from Zambia. And then we have a publications committee, which consists of Francois Fenter, Christine Green, Robert T. Smith, and Len Hansen. And then our membership committee is David Jala and Isaac Oliende.
Okay, you have taken notice of that. Can we move on with our agenda? Any questions, remarks? Then we come to the 4th point, and that is our next meeting theme and the venue. Sean, if you'll just give that information to the meeting.
Right. But over the last 2 days, we've been looking very carefully at where the next hearing, the next meeting will take place, and we've taken into consideration also the visa requirements and how difficult it would be to go into a country, given that I think most of the steering committee were under the impression that we could come into Namibia without any visa issues, and then we had to scramble towards the end. And just from my office side, thank you for getting those forms to us so very quickly and helping us to turn it around. We are grateful for your cooperation. But in speaking with the Dean of Law from the University of Addis Ababa, we will be going to Ethiopia, and it will be around the same time as this conference is held, between the 15th and the last day of May, and it will be in Addis, and we're hoping, in terms of where it will be hosted, the universities there, we're told, don't have the same type of facilities as we do in most parts of sub-Saharan Africa, so we're going to try and arrange with the African Union or the United Nations to use one of their facilities. We do have a direct link into both those organizations, and I think it will be a fantastic conference and an exciting event. Addis is a beautiful place and a fascinating history as well in terms of religion and religious freedoms and rule of law.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard the proposal. Are you satisfied with it? Are there any comments that you want to make? Can I just say that the steering committee will circulate the theme of the conference so that you can start the preparation of your papers. And on the other hand, if you have any ideas, you've got this form from Rosalind where you can make suggestions. We would really welcome it if you gave us some suggestions so that we can consider it as the theme for the next conference. Any questions, remarks? Thank you. Then that is approved, and we will go ahead with the organization. And then we come to the last point on our agenda, and that is the issue of regional chapters or affiliations to ACLARS. Now, ACLARS is the African Consortium for Law and Religion Studies, and we've had a request from Nigeria that they form a chapter of ACLARS for the sake of Nigeria, for the large number of universities that they have there, for the vibrancy of their interest in law and religion. And we have decided as a steering committee that we accept that in principle, and that the details of that will be worked out between the steering committee and the members from Nigeria on what exactly it will entail in different aspects of this affiliation. But we feel positive about it, and we feel it's a good development. This will of course also mean that it doesn't prohibit other chapters to come into existence in different parts of Africa. I can just out of hand think of South Africa, Central Africa, East Africa, and then Northern Africa. But that will be music for the future. Now we are asking your approval for a chapter in Nigeria, which the details about that will be worked out, and it will be brought to you again at next year's business meeting. Now it is the principal approval of such a chapter. Any questions or remarks that you would like to make on that? Then it is approved, and we thank you, and we wish our fellow academics and religious leaders in Nigeria well on this journey which they are starting now. We've heard a report already. Oh yes, sure, keep in our leader list. We have also decided, ladies and gentlemen, that the permanent secretariat of ACLARS will be in South Africa. at the office of Sean Boshoff. He has kindly put one of his secretaries at our disposal, Diane Ruet, which is a great help up to now. We did that on an ad hoc and a friendly basis, but if we can more formalize it now, it will be a good thing. We thank Sean for the facilities that he has put at our disposal, and especially, and you must please convey the gratitude of this meeting to Diane for all the hard work that she had to put in during the past 10 days, 14 days, for all those visums. We really hope it's going to quality. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of our agenda, and I'm at a point where I can adjourn this meeting and this conference. I think we can look back at a very good conference, good papers that were given, and now we look forward to have them published and given to you at our next conference. But as I sit here, I know that this wouldn't have been possible without the assistance of all the members of the steering committee, and especially some of them. During this past few months, we had weekly telephone discussions, discussing problems that might come up, the program, papers. It was really hard work, and I want to start with Cole Durham and Bob Smith at the International Center for Law and Religion in Provo. They are doing a wonderful job. They are helping us financially with this conference. You must really be grateful for all the trouble and all the arrangements that they have made to bring you here to Namibia. We thank you, and please convey our gratitude, especially also to Deborah. I think she's gone through a hectic time this past few years. And then let me mention, I mentioned all the members of the steering committee, especially those who worked hard during the past few months. But I also want to thank Sean here on my left-hand side. Sean is always the calm one, and I always say to my wife, I don't know how he does it. He's got so many commitments that he has to pay attention to, not the least of them the LDS Church in Africa. So he's a very, very busy man. And then he finds time to do mountain biking and to participate in the Cape, what's that one? The Cape Epic. This is really an epic man sitting here next to me. Thank you, Sean, and thank you for our gratitude to Diana and your office there in Pretoria. And yeah, I've mentioned Christy Green this morning. I've mentioned Len Hansen, involved with the publication. It was wonderful to work with you and to have this publication ready. And with that, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time and going to the trouble to attend this conference. As Sean said, we are growing, and we are very grateful for that. And we hope by distributing the knowledge that we gather here, it will really have an impact on Africa and in Africa. Thank you for being here, and I hope you will have a very safe journey back home to where you come from. Godspeed and blessings on your work that you are doing wherever you are and in which religion or religious context you are working. Thank you very much, and with that I adjourn this meeting and this conference.